everybody, welcome back to my channel. I'm glad you could be here with me today. Today I wanted to review a nonfiction book, which I do on occasion on this channel, and I have been really challenged by this book, honestly. I recently kind of skimmed over it again. I'd read it a few months back, but I was skimming over it again and watching some interviews with the author and things like that, and the message really hit home to me. So I'll get right to it in a few minutes, but make sure you stay till the end of the video because I've got some announcements that I need you to hear regarding some of the content in this book and what my plans are moving forward in the next month on this channel. So make sure you stay till the end of the video so you hear what that's about. The book I'm going to review today is called Digital Minimalism by Newport. Now, some of you may not have heard of Newport, and that's fine. If you have heard of Newport, you're probably familiar with this book or familiar with some of his other books. He's written other works such as Deep Work and things of that nature. So this is his latest book. It came out last year, I believe, and I picked it up pretty much right away and read through it, and I was kind of not really jiving with what he talked about in the book in terms of the practical application of what he talks about, and I'll get more into that as we get toward the end. But I did come to realize more and more that I do jive with it, and I'll talk about why and what my plans are to do with it in the near future. So let's get right to it. Digital Minimalism by Newport is a treatise on the digital age, specifically social media. In his last book, Deep Work, he had a section in that book called Quit Social Media, and this is more of a magnum opus on that topic that he goes into. So it's really, really interesting. He goes into the history of the attention programming movement. He called it something else in the book, but I actually forget what it was. But it's centered around the liking and clicking and the very clickbait nature of social media sites like Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, and how they are geared in such a way that they manipulate us and are continually pressuring us to use them more. And it's almost like an addiction. It helps us form an addiction so that we're constantly looking, okay, did somebody click like on my post? What do people think of me? Things of that nature. And for a lot of people, it really becomes a mark on their self-confidence and their self-esteem if they do or do not get their posts clicked and liked, and it can really go a very negative direction. And he goes into the history of some of these sites and from their beginnings to where they are now, and how they literally make money. The more we visit their sites, the more we click like, the more we heart things on Instagram, the more we post, the more people we follow. They make money off of it. And it was really a thoroughly engaging read to see the history and the background of how social media has evolved over the years. And specifically Facebook, which I think probably has the largest user base of any of the current social media sites that we have out there. Instagram is kind of growing in popularity, but Facebook owns Instagram, so that's neither here nor there really. But what's more interesting is the things that Cal recommends in his book that he personally does and that he recommends other people do to kind of detach themselves from the social media giant and live a more meaningful life, a more contemplative life, to be comfortable with solitude and to be comfortable with boredom, which I don't know if you're like me. If I'm bored, there's a problem, or at least I feel like there's a problem, and I need to find something to do. And usually, I've got my phone right there, and I'm checking Facebook, I'm checking Twitter, whatever it might be, to see what my friends have posted. And and then you get stuck in that rut of constantly scrolling and looking at everybody's posts, and posts that some of them you probably don't even care about. So a lot of what I gleaned from this book was more in the suggestions that he gave. So a little bit about Cal Newport. He does not have any social media at all. He doesn't use it. He never has, never jumped on the bandwagon. And people have complained that that doesn't really give him a license to talk about it. But he's also a computer engineer, and he is big into research and case studies and things like that, and watching how social media has evolved over the years. So he's actually the perfect person to really bring this kind of book into the market, even though he's never had social media himself. And he also very minimally uses email. He only uses it for business purposes and for very strict business purposes. I think he said he has a couple of email addresses that he uses, and it's specifically for interesting things that people want to send him or business opportunities. They're not allowed to send him email other than that, because he just doesn't really take too much time for email. And I believe he talked more about that in Deep Work, his previous book to Digital Minimalism. But it's really, really fascinating to hear his account of his experience in the digital age with not using social media or very much email at all. He does have a website, and people can contact him on the website. But he's a really interesting fellow, and he's younger than I am. So, you would think in his generation he would be all about social media, but he isn't. So some of the things that he advocates for, and we'll go down this path now, he advocates for being comfortable with boredom, really allowing yourself to just detach and sit in silence and enjoy the silence. And we all know that's really, really hard to do. That's really, really hard to do. I have such a hard time doing it, just sitting with nothing to do. And that's probably okay, but he really advocates finding quality things to do, really setting aside time for more deep focused work, like if you're in a research industry, really setting aside time where all the notifications are turned off and you're just sitting there completely focused on one task. You've made it known to people you're not going to be taking calls during that time, or unless it's an emergency or things like that, and really being able to focus intently on one thing. And that might be reading a book. I love reading books, so I sit down with a book and I'll be reading a book for a while, but then I'll get that urge to, I should check this on social media. I should check my YouTube count on see how many people have viewed my videos, or things of that nature, and it really becomes a deterrent. And then you're left with what he refers to in the book, and I don't think he's the first one to coin this term, but he calls it attention residue. Basically what that means is we don't have enough devoted mental energy to the task we're primarily supposed to be working on, because we've got residue left over from all these other things that we've been thinking about. whether it's the post on Facebook or the nasty comment that somebody left me on Facebook or on Instagram. I haven't gotten any likes today. What happened? So we've got all this residue left over that's vying for our attention, and we can't focus on the task at hand. So that more than anything really stuck out to me, and it doesn't just happen in our personal lives either. It happens at work. We've got all these emails coming in at work. We've got chats going on with our coworkers, and we've got our main area of work that we're supposed to be focusing on. But so many things are vying for our attention that there's a bunch of residue left over, and we just don't do the quality work that we probably should. So that concept of attention residue really hit home to me. And what he advocates in this book is a 30-day digital declutter. And by that he means you completely turn off everything that would distract you on your phone. You don't use email for 30 days. You don't use social media for 30 days. You don't use whatever else it is you might use for 30 days, and you let people know you're not going to be on for 30 days, and it allows you to detach yourself from those services and to really find the beauty in sitting in silence and not having all these different messages bombarding and vying for your attention, and you can just allow yourself to be and focus on the things that you truly need to focus on. And he has a bunch of people who went through this 30-day digital declutter with him, and he would interview them at different points, and some people stuck with it and some people didn't. And the majority of the people who did eventually did go back to social media and to their digital lives, but they went back with a much more focused and nuanced approach to those services. And I thought that was really, really fascinating. They say it takes a good 30 days to form a habit. And this is kind of based around that mindset. It takes 30 days to break a habit as well. And if you're like me, we're habitually tied to our phones, specifically social media. I would say that the amount of phone calls that I take compared to the amount of everything else that I do on my phone is probably 1%. So it's fascinating to have this magnificent device in our pockets that really can do almost anything we need it to do, even in the absence of a computer in some cases. I do all of my filming on my phone. I do all of my video editing on my phone. So it really is a magnificent device. And he doesn't deny that fact. Cal says it is a amazing device, but it's not being used for the purposes that it was originally intended. And he goes into the history of the iPhone specifically with Steve Jobs and what Steve Jobs' original vision was for the iPhone was to be an iPod that you can listen to music on, but hey, you can also take calls and you can do a few other things like calculator and things like that. But what it's become is this thing in our pocket that does everything, and it's become so much more a part of our life than real people are. So it's really unique, and I do see Apple realizing that fact, and now they're putting measures in place like screen time and things like that to help us get off of our screens more and interact with people in the real world. And right now with the pandemic going on, it's kind of hard because you have to have a lot of those interactions by phone or by video, and then you've got apps like Zoom and things like that are out there for those meetings, and FaceTime on the iPhone too. So we're tied to it a lot more because of that. So it's a really interesting paradox to see what it was originally intended for and what it's become, and trying to find that balance. And so with the digital declutter, he recommends pulling away from it entirely, and then at the end of the 30 days, gradually reintroducing certain services that you do really feel you'll find value in, and using them much more intentionally. And by that time, you've kind of broken that habit of constantly having to be on it again. So I was really fascinated by this book. And the first time I read it, I was like, oh, dude, that's so extreme. That's so extreme. I mean, what if you're in business for yourself, like I am with YouTube and different pursuits, my art that I do and things like that. I need social media for that. And I just kind of didn't give it its full respect when I first read the book. And as I kind of skimmed and reread some parts recently, I realized, he's got a lot of good points to make. And the reality is, I had to ask myself, do I really need social media for my business pursuits? Some of you may still say yes. There's parts of me that still want to say yes. But it was really interesting recently because I looked at my YouTube algorithms, and guess what percent of my YouTube interactions come from social media? 9%. 9%. Now that may seem like a lot. That's still a fairly decent number. But over 70% of my YouTube interactions come from web searches, specifically Yahoo search, which I was really surprised by, and just the general YouTube algorithm recommending my videos. That's where the majority of it comes from. And the majority of my views come from non-subscribers to my channel. You should subscribe, by the way, just saying. Just thought I'd throw that out there, But yeah, a lot of my videos are viewed by non-subscribers, and there's still a good portion that are viewed by subscribers to my channel, but not as many. And I was really surprised as I dug deep into the numbers, and I realized, I don't get a lot of traffic from social media. And what social media traffic I do get comes from Facebook. I would have thought maybe Twitter or Instagram. Twitter has a big book community, book lover community. So does Instagram. So I would have thought, a lot of my traffic probably comes from those. But it doesn't. It mostly came from Facebook. So that was a really interesting research study for myself. And so here's what I've decided to do. I have decided to take the entire month of July off of social media, with one exception. I will still be making YouTube videos. I will still be active on YouTube. And I don't really consider YouTube social media to begin with, but it's more of an informational thing for me. I enjoy getting information out of some of the videos I watch, and I enjoy giving people information through my videos. There are some social media aspects to it, yes, but it's not as much social as it is informational. So YouTube is going to be my one exception. So for the entire month of July, I will not be on social media at all. I will not be posting my videos to social media. So that'll be a real test, right? To see if my traffic decreases or if it increases or if it stays the same, even though I'm not on social media. So I will be deleting the apps off of my phone entirely. And after that 30 days is over, I will do a video, kind of a recap video on my experience, and I'll kind of reintroduce this book a little bit, and I'll tell you what I got from the 30-day digital declutter, which is really mostly going to be a social media declutter. I'm not going to delete a lot of apps off of my phone. I'll just be deleting the social media ones, and that's it. So I figured that would be a good experiment. I'm not going full hog like he advocates in the book of just getting rid of everything, but I will be setting limits on my phone by deleting the social media apps off of my phone. So here's what you can do to help me out with this. This is a big risk for me, or I feel like it's a big risk, because even though a lot of my traffic doesn't currently come from social media, there's always that chance that I might be missing out on traffic if I'm not on social media. But I'm trying to put that out of my mind, and I'm just gonna do it. But here's where you can help me. If you are not a subscriber to my channel and you watch my videos regularly and you enjoy them, please subscribe. And if you're a current subscriber, that's awesome. I really appreciate you. Thank you. And make sure that you turn on the notifications so that you get notified when I put up new videos, because I'm not going to be putting it on social media. So if you follow me on social media, you won't be getting notifications from my new videos, but rest assured I will be making them. So please subscribe to my channel to make sure that you don't miss out, and make sure that you share my videos with your friends, because once again, I'm not putting it on social media. But if you are still active on social media, you can share my videos on social media if you would like to, and I would wholeheartedly appreciate it if you would. And definitely make time to check out my future videos. And once the month of July is over, I will be coming back and doing a recap video on this subject like I said I would. Make sure you check out Digital Minimalism by Newport. It is a fantastic book. Link below in the description so that you can purchase it if you want to through the affiliate link there. And I really appreciate your support and all that you've done to promote my channel and things like that. If you do, I really appreciate you. And make sure that you are reading more books, guys. And I'll talk to you in my next video. I will have a new one up tomorrow, more fantasy and fiction related. All right? Take care. I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye.